Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Sorry for the glasses today. This is quarantine life for me. I do know that sometimes you can see the reflection of everything in there, so sorry about that, but I am not wearing contacts right now. So here we are with glasses. Today's video is going to be all about how to best care for your garments so that you can keep them as long as possible, because as we know, it is certainly much better for the environment if we can continue to rewear our clothing for as long as possible rather than continuously buying new. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Jessica, also known as Chicprofessor on Instagram, and I make videos on luxury goods, sustainable fashion, and workwear. So I'm gonna go over a couple of my tips and tricks to help my clothes last as long as possible and look good for as long as possible. And if at the end of this video I haven't mentioned some of your favorite tips, then please do let me know those down below. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I wanna talk about is a shaver or a debobbler if you're in the UK. It's basically something that helps get rid of the pilling on sweaters, clothes, wool pieces, lots of different clothing, just generally pills. And a little shaver like this, which is really not very expensive, I can get it on Amazon, lots of different places. I will link one down below. This one, if I can find it, this exact one. They're really easy, they're battery operated, they work for quite a while, and you can really make a garment that's been worn quite a bit look almost brand new. So I find that this is really helpful, not only to make me feel good about my garments, make me feel like they look as good as possible, but actually for the garment itself. If you have pilling starting, you're much more likely to get that caught on something and actually create more pilling or even create holes. So it's good for your garments and it makes them look a whole lot better if you can kind of shave them down every once in a while. Of course, only things that do pill, but it really can make a huge difference. The next tip I want to talk about is all about laundry. So I have a friend named Lauren, and shout out to Lauren if she's watching. She is the sustainable stylist, and she has this funny thing she likes to say about laundry, and she thinks that it's a very traumatic moment for your clothing because all of a sudden your clothing is being shoved in this little machine, and if you're washing it on hot, you're like boiling your clothes and they're spinning around. She's like, it's very traumatic for them. And it's just kind of funny if you think about like your clothes feeling something from that experience of washing your clothes. But in general, when we wash our clothes, after we've bought our clothes, a ton of the damage to the environment and to the clothes itself is created all through the washing process. Not only do we wash our clothes entirely too often, which is going to be point one for me, but we tend to wash them in ways that are unnecessary to create a lot more waste and energy use than we really need to use. So first things first, try not to wash your clothes as much. So my tips for this is that if you buy natural fabrics, they're quite naturally antimicrobial, and if you let them air out, it makes a huge difference. So I've got a couple different things. If you saw my closet tour, you've seen I have a couple different things that I use that I can put a hanger on and let my clothes sit. And after I wear something, I usually try to take it off, put it on there, and then let it sit and air out as much as possible. If you have a place to put things outside and you have clothes that you're not worried about getting sun bleached, you can use the sun's power to get rid of most bacteria, definitely smells that are created, and just kind of letting things air out in the fresh air is great. If you don't have that option, or you have something you're a little bit more worried about, something that's a little more precious, then airing it out inside can still make a big difference. You don't just want to shove it back in your closet, because then the bacteria can go from garment to garment, and it also doesn't allow itself to rid itself naturally of odors. Most pieces of clothing do not have to be washed that often, with the exception of like undergarments, garments that you purposely sweat in, like active materials. Those are different, but typical, like your everyday workwear, especially outer layer pieces, they don't really need to be washed that often. And we kind of are like, ew, gross, we're not washing our clothes. But if you are able to let them air out and get as many uses as possible out of them before you wash them, it really does make them last significantly longer, and it makes a big impact on the environment. So try not to wash your clothes as often. So now when you do need to wash your clothes, this is what you should do. If you have a high energy washing machine, that is obviously the best way to go. But if you can put something in your washing machine, make sure that you wash actually a larger load is better to be washing. You're using the same amount of water usually for a larger load, unless you have one that really weighs and kind of dispenses everything evenly, but most of the time you're using a significant amount of water, so the more that you can put in there, the better. However, you don't want to put so much in that you are actually not allowing your clothes to really get clean. So that's number one, kind of finding that balance of you're not overstuffing, but you have a nice full load of clothes. Number two, making sure that you wash on cold. We do not need to wash our clothes unless we are specifically trying to get rid of, like right now, if you feel like you have something that might have the virus on it, wash it in warm, but typically we do not need to do that. So washing your clothes in cold water or tap cold makes a really big difference to how much energy we save, but also trying not to use too much detergent. A lot of times we feel like the more detergent we put in, the cleaner our clothes get. It's the opposite. I've talked about that in another video before. It's the opposite. Actually, you clog your clothes up with these detergents and they can't naturally breathe on their own. So really try to put the minimum amount of detergent needed for that load, and you can kind of look up what that looks like based on your washing machine. So those are important things to keep in mind when washing. And then in terms of drying, really try to limit the amount that you're using the tumble dryer. It's not good for your clothes. We wear them out, we stretch out elastic. Our clothes just naturally, pretty much every material wears significantly faster in a dryer. So if you can limit the amount that you are actually using the dryer and hang dry things, it's not only better for the environment, but significantly better for your clothes and makes them last a lot longer. I've been holding this the whole time. The last bit is dry cleaning. If you are able to do at-home dry cleaning or go to a green or organic dry cleaner, that's great because dry cleaning has a ton of really terrible toxic chemicals and they're not so great for our clothes. So something like this one doesn't use a lot of the really big, bad, terrible toxic chemicals. It's known to not have that. You can see it's the safer, more responsible product. It's certainly not as good as a typical cold wash, but a lot of products need to be dry cleaned. And so again, if you can limit the amount that you have to wash those, then you can do a dry cleaning layer. And I like to put, I think it's up to like 6 garments. Yeah, six garments or something I put in at a time with one of these. So I wait to do my dry cleaning at home until I have a good amount. And then I use one of these cloths for that. And so I find that that makes a big difference in trying to limit the amount of chemicals, but it also becomes more manageable to handle dry cleaning if you are doing so at home. So another quick tip is I like to change out of my clothes as soon as I get home and put on my comfortable clothes, my home clothes. I've talked about this before, but it not only allows them to air out a little bit longer, but I'm much less likely to spill on them. Or when I'm home, I'm just kind of relaxed. I'm not paying as much attention to the upkeep and care of my clothes. So it's definitely nicer to be able to worry about things that I can wash in the machine and let my dry cleaning clothes or my work clothes, whatever that's gonna be, to go away and sit and start airing out and be ready to go for the next time. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is what we wear under our clothes. So we've talked about taking care of the exterior of our clothes. We've talked about the dry cleaning process, not wearing our clothes for longer than we need. But the last thing is under our clothes. There are things that we can wear that can help us to get more uses, more wears out of our clothes, and to help us not have to clean them as often. So the company I want to talk about today is called Luxeire, and it doesn't have to be Luxeire, but I do really like them, and I know the people who have created it, and they're just a wonderful mother-daughter team, and so I'm excited to share them with you today. If you are in the US, right, they're made in the US and they're a New York and New Jersey based company. But if you're not, you can find something similar in a lot of different places. So what I like about Luxeire is they create clothing for under our clothes to help them last as long as possible. So one thing I want to talk about are these tops. And I have a couple different pieces from Luxeire, and they have a special line that are a little bit more sustainably sourced. And I have some pieces from that line and then some pieces from their regular line, because even their regular line is still really helpful because it helps our garments last as long as possible. So this is made out of EcoNail, and I have hinted about EcoNail in a couple different videos, but I find it such a cool material. I actually also have this white button down from them, but this is the under pieces that I want to talk about. You could wear this as a t-shirt as well, but it's mostly meant to go under different clothing items. And it really is quite minimal in its seams and things like that, so you don't really see it. But EcoNail is a really cool material. It's a regenerated nylon, so it's a recycled nylon, but it's infinitely recyclable. So you can recycle it over and over again. They can continuously make it into new things. When you are done with an EcoNail piece, you send it back, they break it down, and they can continue to make new things. Plus, the way that they are able to create EcoNail, they're able to take out the chemicals and wastewater and dispose of those differently or reuse them, so that it's a closed loop process, and it is a much better sustainable alternative to typical recycled materials, or to certainly creating new nylon, which is one of the worst fabrics that we have. So they take already recycled material like fishing nets and things like that and create the first kind of go around with EcoNail, and then they can make new garments from there. And as people send those back when they're done with them, then it can continue. It's just a really cool loop. So this is made out of EcoNail. I also have this in white, which I do actually wear the white more often than I wear the black, but they are great. They go under pieces. They're nice and form-fitting, so they're perfect for like under a blazer, whatever you want that to be. But what it does is it kind of captures your sweat a little bit. And it also just means that because your clothes are not touching the kind of core part of your body, you can get long sleeve versions. They have a ton of different just versions of these. Not as many in the EcoNail line, but in their typical line. And so then you just wash these layers, which dry very easily. So you just wash them regularly on cold, and then they very easily hang dry, doesn't take long, and you can wear them again. They're very breathable, which is really nice. But I just love that it allows the clothes that you wear on top to really not need to be washed as often, because they're not touching your skin, or certainly not touching the areas where you're sweating as much. So super cool, and they were kind enough to give me a discount code to give to all of you. So I will link their website in the description box, but if you use code Jessica20, you can get 20% off of your first order, which I think is pretty great. I also want to point out some of the pieces that I have that are not in the EcoNail collection. So I have a pair of pants and also this little pair of leggings, which are great because they kind of smooth you out. You don't really get as many bumps. You don't see like underwear lines, things like that as much, because they're just like this nice smooth layer that you put over your clothes. They can also be a little extra added layer of warmth, but again, it makes your clothes last longer. I also really like it because I have really sensitive legs. So if I have a pair of pants that are not lined, this helps me to wear those really comfortably. And I just think that they're super cool. So I love having these as well. So that's it for this video. I'm really curious if you all have any other tips for keeping your garments as nice as possible. I certainly have some different ways that I clean and take care of my bags and shoes, and I've kind of talked about those in the past, but I haven't done a dedicated video. So if you'd like to see that, please do let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in a future video.